We begin with a Northwest man who promises his breakthrough science will make you smarter. Do you really think pumping iron can pump up your brain power? It's not your typical office environment, walking and working all at the same time. But this is how brain scientist Dr. John Medina gets his mind going. And if he ran your business, you'd be doing this too. And if you wanted to boost the output in the office, you'd get rid of the cubicle.
I would.
Dr. Medina knows a thing or two about how we think.
Look, it goes right here. There is Gene's brain right there, and this is John's
He's a
brain.
developmental molecular biologist
And it's got hills and valleys. We call them gyrus and sulci.
who studies what makes some people smarter than others, like nature or nurture.
Oh, it's the magic question. My goodness, in all of brain science, you have both nature and nurture to contend with. What I usually say to folks is that the genes are a little bit like a buffet table. You're born with a certain number of food that you can choose from, for sure. Some people are born with lots. What you choose to pick out of that is sort of up to you. So the nature part of it is the buffet table, and the choice is yours. And that's nurture.
How to nurture our body's most complex organ is the topic of Dr. Medina's latest book, Brain Rules, 12 Principles for Surviving and Thriving at Work, Home, and School. So you'd tear down the average classroom and the average business cubicle.
Oh, I sure would. Yeah, absolutely. If you were to design a learning environment that was directly opposed to what the brain was naturally good at doing, you would design something like a classroom.
So if you were designing your perfect classroom, you'd have the kids not in a desk but on a treadmill?
That would be a start. But I would be willing to test these things, to do research questions, because that's actually a research question.
Dr. Medina's fascination with the brain and passion for learning began at an early age, thanks to his mom, a fourth-grade teacher who paid close attention to her son's every interest.
So I'm interested in dinosaurs. You know what she does? She fills the whole house with dinosaurs. She was tracking my interest. And then something extraordinary would happen. I would, not extraordinarily, lose interest. And what she did is that she tore down all the dinosaur stuff and she just waited for the next thing to come along. Pretty soon I got it in my head that what I was interested mattered to her. So the best thing I could possibly do.
Today, Dr. Medina directs the Brain Center for Applied Learning Research at Seattle Pacific University, teaches at the University of Washington, and lectures across the country.
Take a look at it.
While his presentations include a few graphs and charts, Dr. Medina will be the first to tell you, we don't pay attention to boring stuff. That's brain rule number 4. And yet you say that your eyes are provide you with your most important sense.
Oh yeah.
Why is that?
Well, anywhere between 1/3 to 1/2 of the brain is devoted to visual processing. Here's the thing that the brain loves more than anything else. It wants a rotating, moving, three-dimensional image. The last thing we pay attention to is a static, non-moving visual image.
Let's go over the main myths about the brain.
Okay.
I mean, as a brain scientist, you've heard them all. What would you say they are?
Men are from Mars, women are from Venus, and I'll take the lawsuit.
It's not true?
Not true. No.
Why not?
Every brain is wired individually from every other brain and learns in ways unique to that wiring. If you begin enveloping them by gender, you are borderline sexist. Here's another one, that you only use 10% of your brain. Not true.
But we actually use much more than 10% of our brain.
Tons. Yeah, we use the whole thing all the time. Another one that's interestingly enough is if I just teach my kid French and German and calculus before the age of 4, they're going to grow up to be really, really smart. That if I create this intellectual hothouse, that they're going to be really smart. Do you know what the single greatest predictor of academic success is that exists? It's the emotional stability of the home. So, you want to get your kid into Harvard? Go home and love your husband.
Interacting with your spouse, work meetings, phone calls. During the day, all sorts of messages bombard our brains. We think we can process all this information instantaneously, but the truth is, we can't. Our brain needs to do it while we're at rest. And that's brain rule number 7. Sleep well, think well.
If you learn something during the daytime, and you close your eyes and you go to sleep, your brain begins to repeat what you had recruited for long-term storage thousands of times during the night. Over and over again at very specific stages in sleep. You are sleeping not so that you can restore energy, because it's not energy restorative. You are sleeping so you can cut out all the other noises that are in your life and fully concentrate on the one thing the brain is really good at, and that is learning. You need to sleep so you can educate yourself.
But that doesn't mean everyone must hit the sack at a reasonable time. Many people, including teenagers, stay up late, really late, because their brains actually function better at night.
So if they could take night classes, they would do better than if they took day classes.
Oh, I predict that, yeah, exactly right. I think you see that. Some of these kids will now graduate, and when they go to college, where now they can adjust their schedule, all of a sudden their GPAs just shoot straight up, and everybody calls them a late bloomer. And we in brain science land say, no, they're not late bloomers, they're just getting the sleep they're supposed to have.
And finally, the rule that tops Dr. Medina's list. It's the same advice you've heard to reduce heart disease, cancer, and lose weight. Exercise.
If you really want to boost your brain power, you should get moving.
That's right. There's a fertilizer in the brain called BDNF. You want this. You want as much BDNF as you get. And exercise will increase that miracle grow inside the brain and produce brain health.
Wow.
The cool thing, at least from an experimental point of view, is that if you then subtract the exercise from a group of people that really were exercising and then wait 3 weeks and then see how their brains are doing, their brains aren't doing very well at all. So you can turn this thing on and off like a light switch.
And that's why, if Dr. Medina had his way, the average office and classroom would be remodeled to include treadmills. From where he sits, it's not just a great idea, it's a no-brainer.
If you get people exercising, you can improve cognition in virtually every way you can test it, from memory performance, spatial distribution. Ah, geez, I could go on and on with this stuff, but exercise boosts cognition.
Go. So if you really want to retain any of the information you just heard from Dr. Medina, repeat to remember. That's brain rule number 5. It's how you can improve your short-term memory. Once again, repeat to remember.